Are you looking for an ayahuasca experience review from someone who has never experienced a psychedelic trip? I am that person, and this is my experience and review of taking ayahuasca 4 times in the Amazon jungle of Peru. Before I embarked on this adventure, I made sure to do my thorough research. Where did I go to do my research? YouTube, of course. I watched more ayahuasca experience videos than I can count, and almost everyone was saying the same thing. Taking ayahuasca has been one of the best choices of their lives, and it has made a profound positive change in their lives. These reviews were coming from people all over the world in all types of cultures and belief systems. Some of the people were already living great lives, but they wanted to see if plant medicine could amplify what they already had or take them to higher and higher levels of success in their lives. I also heard from people who had undergone extreme trauma in their lives, including sexual trauma, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and so many other horrible things. After hearing from these people, I was drawn to plant medicine to see if I could experience such a positive change in my life. My name is Scott Kennedy, and I'm 39 years old. I have lived a blessed life, great family, great friends. I live in San Diego where the weather is basically perfect year-round, the surf is always good, and I've been taken care of in every way throughout my life. After graduating from college, I spent over 5 years as an officer in the United States Marine Corps, and then transitioned into becoming a real estate agent, of which I've been doing for the past 7 years of my life. It was only 5 months ago that I heard about ayahuasca from a Joe Rogan podcast, and it put a strong interest in my heart to learn more about it and possibly experience it for myself. Well, the time is never right, but I booked my retreat and flight and headed to the airport on my way to Iquitos, Peru, where I'd be taking a 2-hour bus ride and a 2-hour boat ride up the Amazon River to Arcana Retreat Center in Loreto, Peru. The Amazon River and rainforest jungle is a magical place. The sounds and the smells are so unique, and the weather is hot and humid. I was on this journey with 20 other people, of which I had just met, from all over the world, including Canada, France, Africa, Mexico, England, and America. Some of my companions were seasoned ayahuasca drinkers, but most were doing this for the first time. When we arrived at the Arcana Retreat Center, we were greeted by the local Amazonian people, dressed in some of their traditional clothing and playing traditional instruments to welcome us on our journey. Well, you may ask, why would you want to try ayahuasca when everything in your life is going somewhat well? That's just it. I never thought my life would just go well. I always imagined a great life, not a good life. I felt like I was stuck in life, like there was a circular pattern that had been spinning in my life for the last 5 years, and I couldn't get off the wheel, no matter how hard I tried. Every year I would make these resolutions to find my purpose and to start living that purpose. However, my purpose was never fully shown to me. I felt like I had exhausted most of my options to break the cycle. Some of the things I tried were getting into great shape, becoming a runner, striving for higher and higher success in my career as a real estate agent, traveling the country, and on and on. I believe that if I could just attain more things, I would be happy. Does this sound familiar? I realize that what I'm saying is nothing new. And as a matter of fact, it's a broken record that has been played over and over in most of our lives. Why is it that I was so carefree when I was young? Why do I seem to stress out over such small things in my life? Things that don't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Why am I not able to love fully or receive love? These are all questions I've been asking myself lately. Welcome to Peru. Look at this guy. Jamie, what brought you to Arcana to do ayahuasca?
Self-discovery, continuing on my healing journey, and kind of looking for a new purpose in life.
So Brian, what brought you to the Amazon jungle in the first place?
I was really kind of looking to see if there was some trauma that I needed to clear out from when I was a child. I went through had a pretty rough childhood, and I've been in this place where I'm carrying them, all that stuff along with me, and as a fuel to get me to the next place. And I realized it was no longer serving me, so I was kind of hoping I'd, clear some of that out and get a little more focus and clarity.
I didn't have any just hardcore problem that I brought here. Part of it was just curiosity. I felt I could be more joyful and more active in my life than I am. I felt like I can be like this, but in reality, I wasn't.
Jerry Powell, the owner of a plant medicine retreat center called Rhythmia and author of the book Shit the Moon Says, writes, "From the time we are conceived to the age of around 6, a split can happen. We separate from our soul and take on a new identity. We become someone else. That separation can be triggered in different ways. It happened to him because he was sexually molested as a child. It happens to others because they were not fed on time. Others had parents who fought, or there was alcoholism in the family. It's painful and it causes many problems, but it's got to happen. The shattering of our early self has to happen so that you can put it together again and gain power to allow you to learn what you need to learn. Something you may think is a tragedy has an opportunity hidden within it, provided you have the strength and understanding to see that. When I tell people that a painful break has happened to them in the past, basically everyone can relate to that. If I ask people if there was a tragic event that happened to them in their childhood, everyone can relate. Alcohol, drugs, fatal illnesses, car accidents, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes. We've all had catastrophic events that have seemed to put us out into the cold. I don't intend to minimize any of that, but I ask you to look at it in a different way. Again, unfair or horrible or tragic as it may seem, these things always happen and they must happen. The separation occurs for everybody and we are designed that way. It is built into the experience of being alive. It's built into your human destiny. It's out of your hands. What is not out of your hands is how you respond. Not what you did yesterday or 20 years ago, but what you do now. So we just did the orientation video, and I'm getting away from the retreat center, just walking through the rainforest right now. But during the orientation, there were 4 things that we need to remember while we're doing ayahuasca. The first one is our posture. So basically, posturing yourself to be able to take the medicine and have it give you what you need. The second one is your breathing, focusing on your breathing. The third was your intentions. And the fourth was Ikaros, which are the songs that the shamans are going to sing. So I thought that was kind of cool. 4 things to think about while doing ayahuasca. Well, before I pretend to be some kind of guru, or should I say shaman in this case, let me just tell you about my ayahuasca experience. Actually, let me first give you a quick overview of ayahuasca from a non-scientific standpoint, and I mean very non-scientific. Ayahuasca comes from the Amazon rainforest, from the ayahuasca vine and chacruna leaves. These two are mixed together with water over a fire and heated for a period of time to make a psychedelic brew. That brew is then cooled down and stored for a short period of time and consumed by individuals, ideally in a ceremonial setting. This is traditionally used in shamanic practices to help reveal new insights to people, deal with traumas, and to better their lives in substantial ways. The phrase I hear a lot is that taking ayahuasca is like having 10 years of therapy in one sitting. After arriving at Arcana Retreat Center and meeting the owner Jose along with the other guests, we were given a quick tour and schedule of the events that would unfold that week. There would be 4 ayahuasca ceremonies during the 7-day retreat, and all of the ceremonies would start at 8 p.m., and the length of the ceremonies would be decided by the shamans. The retreat consisted of 20 to 25 guests, approximately 5 facilitators and interpreters, 3 shamans or maestros, and the owner and his wife. There were also a handful of local Peruvian staff and security members for our safety. The retreat consisted of not only the ayahuasca experience, but also some exciting adventure tours each day, including time spent with monkeys, caiman, birds, and a tour of the Amazon jungle around the retreat center. Thinking back on the trip, you could easily go on this retreat and enjoy yourself without even taking the medicine. Although I doubt you would book this retreat because there are hundreds of other retreats that just focus on the jungle, river, and wildlife tours. Flower bath. Yay! Woo! Almost ceremony time. The ayahuasca ceremony at Arcana Retreat Center is held in what's called the Maloka. The Maloka is a round structure on stilts with a large cone-shaped thatched roof. Inside the Maloka, there were bed cushions placed around the outside of the circle against the walls. Each bed was accompanied by 2 regular pillows and a firm square pillow for more back support. The beds were very comfortable, and around 7:45 p.m., all of the guests were usually sitting upright in a meditative pose, ready for the start of the ceremony. At that point, one of the facilitators would come around to each of us with a hanging ball-like device that was lit with something inside and was producing smoke from mapacho tobacco, a tobacco used for ceremonial purposes. I believe this was to ward off any evil spirits that could interfere with us during the ayahuasca journey. Right after that, the youngest shaman, or maybe shaman in training, would come around to all of us and blow mapacho tobacco smoke 3 times on the crown of our heads and in the palms of our hands. After that, the lights and the candles of the entire retreat center were shut off, except 2 candles at the feet of the shamans, who were cross-legged and had 2 large pitchers of ayahuasca concoction next to them. One facilitator took his place, sitting in front of the 2 shamans with a booklet. The facilitator would call us up one by one, and the shamans would prepare our dose of the medicine. They would then bless the medicine and hand it over to us to drink. When I drank the brew, I remember thinking, this kind of tastes like soy sauce, mixed with something disgusting. To me, it wasn't that bad, and I was happy for that because I've heard people talk about how horrible it is to them. After everyone gets their dose of the medicine, they walk back to their cushions and get settled, preferably with a meditative pose, eyes closed and focusing on their breath. The recommendation was to keep your eyes closed the entire time because you will see more visions this way. At that point, the candles are blown out and you are left in the darkness with only the sounds of the jungle. After 30 minutes of waiting, the magic begins to unfold. Well, I got my first ayahuasca ceremony under my belt last night. And man, it was interesting. It wasn't anything that I expected, actually. I took a half a cup of ayahuasca last night in the Maloka with everybody else. And, I was expecting to go into a place where I'm going to learn more about myself, and I'm going to tackle some of the issues in my life, I guess, or some of the intentions that I have, and hopefully get some answers. But last night I didn't get any of that. Last night I was just super euphoric. People were purging next to me or puking or crying, and I felt kind of bad because everything was making me laugh. I know that's just a defense mechanism probably, but everything was making me laugh. I was having a great time. Once in a while I would kind of go down like a weird little road, but I didn't really see any visions. I was hoping to see some visions. Like I was hoping to be guided and ask some questions and get those things answered. But I didn't get that in my first ceremony. So tonight I'm taking a little bit more. Instead of a half a cup, I'm taking 3/4 of a cup, and we'll see what happens. On Tuesday night, I was a little nervous about the ceremony because I remembered some of the negative thoughts that came into my head during the first ceremony. I had heard stories of people going to dark places on this medicine, but they usually have the most profound life-changing experiences during those trips. I remember telling another guest that I was really looking forward to a challenging experience so that I could go deeper into my subconscious to pull out things I might have forgotten from my past that have made me the man I am today. Well, guess what? I got what I asked for. Instead of taking half a cup like the first night, I took 3/4, and holy cow. Okay, it's Wednesday at Arcana. Had my second ceremony last night, and holy moly, can't even explain it. It was the best and worst experience of my life. That's all I'm gonna say. 20 minutes later, I was sent on a trip to the darkest place I had ever been. I saw the pain in this world. I saw the most vile and disgusting images of what people can become if left to their own devices. I saw a world filled with all of the creature comforts we seek, including instant gratification, and it was amplified to a version in which everything was placed in front of my eyes before I could even think them up. It was a world of technological innovation that went too far. Every thought I had was instantly given to me at or before I could think of it. Whatever I wanted was in front of me at the same second I thought of it, and then morphed into my next thought and next thought and next thought until my brain could not take it anymore, and neither could my brain do anything to get out of this personal hell. It's not worth explaining all the details of this experience, but it was the worst place I had ever been, and I somehow realized that this would be the worst experience I would ever have in this life. This went on and on for about 4 hours, and I was totally consumed by fear and anxiety. My body was drenched in sweat, and my heart was pounding out of my chest. In the last second of this experience, I saw myself being killed. And then it went black. After maybe only a few seconds, the veil was lifted and I felt like I was reborn. The thought of being born again resounded in my head. I sat up from my lying position with a renewed energy, an energy I will never forget. I'm alive! I made it! You made it! Then the thought of, never forget what just happened to you, and never forget that nothing in life will ever be as bad as the experience you just went through. I felt like I had been born again from the ashes of my old self. It was absolutely amazing, and I felt so free and alive. This feeling would continue for the last 3 or 4 hours of the medicine's effect, and I was filled with an intense love for everyone around me, as well as for my friends and family back home. At one point during this elated feeling, I was brought to a visualization of my mom and dad and 2 sisters. I was shown some of the pain in their lives over the years, and I felt their pain inside of me. I remember saying to myself, "Give me your pain so that I can take it on myself and free you from that bondage." It showed me that I have been very selfish in my life, and that everyone around me is dealing with their own issues of hurt and pain. I felt a deep love for my family in this moment as tears streamed down my face. I thought, I never again want to take for granted the amazing family I have. I am so blessed. As the ceremony came to a close around 2:30 a.m. that night, I was ready to fall asleep. Even though that experience was extremely scary, I knew there was more to learn. I had been born again, but now I needed to know what to do with this rebirth. After our group shares the next day, it was recommended to me to take a smaller dose the third night so that I could use the medicine to process what I had experienced the night before. That night I took 1/4 of a cup, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I did not go deep into visuals, but rather felt a heightened sense of awareness and understanding of what happened to me the night before. I was so thankful for the experience, and also so thankful that I didn't have any negative or scary visuals that night. I walked away from night 3 with a thought that I would like to go deeper again on my 4th and final night to try to put all the pieces together and get some of my final questions answered. How's your experience been with ayahuasca?
It's been amazing. There's been some good times, some bad times, but even the bad times end up being really great. Learning a lot about myself, learning to let go and trust the process, and to keep focusing on my breath in order to propel the change forward.
What are some of the take-homes, do you think, that are going to benefit you in the future?
I think one of the biggest ones is to let go of control. I try to control everything in my life, from schedule to time, everything. And I really learned hard last night that I need to let go of control, because otherwise it's just this internal battle of fighting, and I want peace.
How has it affected you, and has it helped you in any way, do you think?
Yeah, the first session was good. It was very interesting. I don't have much experience with psychedelics, so I didn't really know what to expect. I got really caught up in the ceremony. It's quite well orchestrated, especially on your first one. And I did slip into that ayahuasca, I don't know what you call it, like a haze, and where some truths are starting to come out at you and all these things that you're kind of realizing. And then session 2 wasn't that great, honestly. I went in with expectation to try to get the same thing I had with number 1, but I was really tired from that night before because I do it back to back. And the third one, I started off pretty bad. I started off to get a little bit of a bad trip, and I had to center myself, so I got up, went to the bathroom, calmed myself down, slowed my heart rate, and it was just like, whew, everything just went quiet, and I was like, all right. And I went back in the ceremony, and all of a sudden, the reality started hitting me, and I realized that everything that I had been looking for was already here inside me. And I felt a little bit embarrassed that I had come all the way down here to find out some of these truths, but I also realized that had I not, I wouldn't have been able to find them. So it was a profound night, but it was a very aggravating night because I figured this out really fast, and then I had about 6 hours, no, maybe 5 hours left to kind of just replay that in my mind until the ceremony was over. But I came out of it like new eyes open, clear. I am on fire. Some of the other ceremonies that weren't DMT related, like we did some breathing classes, and I was able to make a very profound connection with the teacher by just looking at each other and actually finally seeing a human being for who they were for the first time through their eyes. So it's kind of the biggest profound things, but the ayahuasca gave me just a clarity and perspective on the things I'd been missing that I get to take home now. I'm like, I have never felt a more fierce love for my family. That's like number 1.
That's amazing.
And also like slight embarrassment at how like selfish I was to leave them behind to come down here to do this, to get these answers. Again, it was needed, but I get to take that home now with that perspective and put that lens on things. Like, hey, I walked off the path, and in this last session, God came in and smacked me and was like, that way.
On night 4, I decided to take 1/4 of a cup at the beginning and then take another 1/4 about an hour into the trip. However, it didn't work that way. This time the small dose sent me into visions right away. This experience was different than any other night. I was completely aware the whole time and was watching things in my life unfold. The main theme of this night for me was focused on control. I had never thought of myself as a control freak, but I was shown that I try to control everything in my life, and if I can't control it, then those are the times I flee. It started to show me past relationships and past careers and past instances where I let fear take over my life because I was no longer the one in control of the situation. After what felt like an hour, I had a euphoric feeling take over me, and I stretched out my hands and watched a white fog cloud of control separate itself from my body and fly up into the air to the pinnacle of the cone-shaped Maloka roof. It felt like that part of me had been lifted, and I was free of needing control over everything in my life. 5 minutes later, I had a vision of being in surgery, and the doctor was removing my heart. As he removed my heart and held it in his hands, I could see my heart turn from dark to light. And as soon as I saw that, the doctor brought my heart back and inserted it back in my chest. As that happened, I had a feeling of doubt cross through my thoughts, and I said to myself, "You just conjure that up. You've thought of this before, and other people have had this experience, so that wasn't real." After that, I was hoping for something to clarify this because nothing came to me. I then asked the medicine what my purpose is in life. I then received a message saying, "If I told you your ultimate purpose, you would then know, and within a short period of time, you would get bored with that purpose and try to seek something else. You always do this. You no longer need control of your purpose. Focus on just enjoying the journey, and I promise this will bring you excitement, joy, and contentment. You don't always need to know everything. Most of the excitement and joy in life comes from being surprised. Look for these surprises around you every day. Become childlike again so that life is just a fun adventure that you get to take part in and enjoy." Life is better when it's simple, and life is better when you carry a childlike heart. One thing that I've kind of realized throughout this process is I come from a religious background, a Christian background, family, friends, everybody, and I was very strong in that faith. And it was always hard for me to believe in things like angels and demons and miracles and all these things because you just don't see them in everyday life. People talk about them, but you don't see them in everyday life. So it's really hard for me to, a lot of people around at this retreat are talking about the spiritual aspect of it and like how Mother Ayahuasca is coming to them and that she's actually like an entity or God or all these other things. Well, for me, what I've noticed is I see it as a medicine or a chemical that is able to rewire your brain in a way to make you more positive, to make life better, and maybe to really add to your life or give you some motivation or insight on what you need to do in life and what your purpose is. So that's what I'm taking from this retreat. I'm not taking it as this like, whoa, Mother Ayahuasca or God or angels or their spirits or that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't see it firsthand. Yeah, you can take a medicine or a drug and it can make you trip out a little bit, but is it real? I don't know. Or is it just the chemicals going on in your brain? I do think it's very beneficial though, because I'm already feeling, I just feel great. I feel really good. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I feel like I'm gonna be able to take this home and really use a lot of it in my life. That is a real crocodile. The great thing about my experience with ayahuasca is that although it could be similar to another person's experience, it'll never be exactly the same. A popular saying in the ayahuasca community is, the medicine may not give you what you want, but it will always give you what you need. There were numerous people during the week at Arcana who took the medicine the first night and decided not to take it again because they got what they needed, or they were too scared after the first ceremony to go any deeper with the medicine. My mindset going in was that I was only there for 1 week, so no matter my experiences, I would push on to see what else the medicine had to show me. I'm glad I made that decision because it wasn't until my last ceremony that I believe I got the answers I needed. There you go. What's that for?
This one's for love.
Now, I'm sure people will ask me if I'd ever do ayahuasca again. And my answer will be, if there comes a time in my life that I can't find the answers on my own, I will drink the medicine again. I believe the medicine allows you to go deeper into yourself, to pull out the answers you need, maybe even the answers you already know but can't find. I believe ayahuasca is a medicine that shows you the things you already had inside of you, the things you forgot, and is able to rewire your brain so that you can break the cycle of negative patterns in the future. If someone were to ask me if everyone should experience ayahuasca for themselves, my answer would be no. You should only try ayahuasca if you feel called and are seeking answers to questions you can't find on your own. If somebody were to ask you about your experience and whether or not they should come to deal with maybe some things in their life, what would be your advice?
I think people should come when they're open to it. You have to trust the medicine in order to work on this process, because if you're not open, you're not going to get as far. You're not going to hear the message. You're not going to be able to accept the message. Mm-hmm. And so I think the process really starts with your own healing journey at home. And I've been working on this for a few years. Mm-hmm. And it's just all about respecting that process and open up your mind so that then you can be here and relax, breathe, trust, and just really be open to what ayahuasca has to share with you.
Awesome, thank you. If you were to advise a friend, let's say, if they said, maybe I should go down there, at this point, would you say yes, or would you let them know they can figure everything out here in the U.S. or wherever they are?
Yeah, it really depends on who you are. I mean, there's a lot of folks that just have, really emotional and psychological work that needs to be done. And there's others, kind of like myself, that just, and it's innate in me to handle it. So I think it's very unique scenarios. So it really depends on who you are. what you're looking for, and you know what you're willing to risk. You know, it's safe. They do a good job here. I feel safe, but where they can't control is what happens in your mind. So if you're someone who is easily influenced and whatnot, it might not be the best option for you if you don't have that ability to kind of come right back to center when things get bad. You'll end up maybe having a bad time. Now, if you're someone who is, we've got some people here that are diving real deep. They're like digging up old stuff and purging it. And I think that's great. In that instance, it works like a medicine. So it's really up to you. If you feel called to do it, great. You know, and if the other thing, if you're just looking to go trip, that's fine too. Just be honest with yourself. Like, hey, I want to go try drugs. I want to go, you know, try, you know, whatever it is. That's fine. Just be honest with yourself about it, because you'll have the right experience when you get here.
Great. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
One last question. Who was like the coolest person you met?
Scott, of course.
Yes. There it is, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you a better understanding of the ayahuasca experience. If you did like this video, please subscribe, and I'd love to hear your questions in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one.